All right, everybody, welcome to another What's on Dave's Shelf. This is going to be the finale because I've actually gotten through every single item that's on my shelves behind me. So this is the last couple of videos that I'm making. It's Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And I'm going out there on a limb, probably the most unpopular edition of D&D in the history of D&D. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Can't wait to see everybody's YouTube comments on that one. So leave a comment down below. I'm kidding. So we're going to take a look at everything that I have on my shelf. I pretty much have all of the books. There's some other fodder that I call it, like DM screens and stuff like that come out with each adventure. I think they're from Gale Force 9 or WizKids. I don't buy that junk. I just pretty much have the core stuff that comes out. And I'm not really into that much third-party stuff, unless it's like from Kobold Press. Kobold Press puts out some really nice stuff. So we're going to get started. Back before Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition was called Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, it was called D&D Next. And that's the playtest. And I've got playtest material here. I have all of the I think I have all of the playtest material, and I'll also go out and say that if you watched my Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition videos, which actually I'm going out on another limb, D&D 4th edition is probably the most popular edition of all time by D&D. Love to hear those comments as well. Towards the end of the D&D Encounters seasons, I think starting with around season number 11 or so, not only were you getting the 4th edition mechanics and the 4th edition creatures, but they started adding in parts of the book that was actually with the D&D Next playtest also. So, yeah. So I have those. I've already shown those. And these are the D&D Next playtest materials. And it starts off with the Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle. And I actually really love the Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle. This, in all of D&D Next, D&D 5th edition, whatever you want to call it, I think the Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle adventure, along with the Lost Mine of Phandelver, are probably the two best adventures for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And you can buy this on DM's Guild. It used to be on D&D Classics before it was converted. And this is a Gen Con exclusive book. And this is only available at Gen Con. You couldn't pre-order it. You could, but you could only pick it up at Gen Con. Well, one of my users, and this is probably 5-6 years ago this book came out. I'd say probably a year or two before 5th edition was officially launched in 2014. So this is probably 2013 or 12. And one of my users during one of my live streams was at Gen Con. And my user, the viewer that I was talking with, he's like, hey, they have 2 of these Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle books left. It was the end of Gen Con. People didn't pick them up, so they were selling them. And he asked me, they were $35. And he asked me if I wanted one. And I said, does a bear shit in the woods? Yes, please buy me a copy of this, and I'll pay you for it. So I PayPal'd him the money, he sent me the book, etc. So, yeah, this has everything. It's in color, too. But it has everything with the rules for D&D Next. And then it has a beautiful adventure called The Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle. And the first time that I read this, I fell in love with the adventure. I mean, it's so nicely done. There's some sandbox elements as well. I really like it. And I've ran this. I actually converted this to Fantasy Grounds and actually converted it from the next playtext rules to whatever, rules were changed up to where D&D 5th edition is today. So, yeah, this is pretty rare. I know there's not a lot of them out there. But, yeah, if you guys can pick up the PDF from D&D Next or whatever, you can get this from, DM's Guild or... Yeah, I think it's DM's Guild. You can get this there. But yeah, it's a beautiful adventure. Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle. Like I said, it's one of my favorites in D&D 5th edition. So yeah, check that out. Next, we've got another D&D Next rules, as you can see here. This is the Vault of the Draco Lich, and this is another really nice adventure that was put out for D&D 5th edition. You know, you're going to have to put your map together. That's in the back of the book. But needless to say, they put a color map in there for you. And look, they don't even do that now for, you know, the current 5e stuff. Well, they're starting to now. So, yeah, but here's this is the Vault of the Draco Lich. It's an adventure for 4th level characters, and yeah. So that's pretty rare as well. Then I've got a couple of, I'll kind of show that off in a little bit. That's kind of just snuck in there. But here's another D&D Next. This was Legacy of the Crystal Shard. This was actually part of the D&D Encounters. And I believe this has both 4th edition and 5th edition stuff in it, I believe. Yeah, here we go. It's got 3.5, 4th, and D&D Next. And this is the whole packet. This has your adventure books. It has a 64-page campaign guide with the Icewind Dale's 32-page adventure. And then it has a 4-panel DM screen also. And I believe this is what, you know, part of the Sundering when the new D&D Next books came out with Drizzt and all of the new heroes of 5th edition. This was part of the public playtest. And I actually got this on eBay. I bought this when it was, I'm not sure how rare this is or anything, but I know there can't be many of them. But yeah, Legacy of the Crystal Shard. Here's another one. Here's Murder at Baldur's Gate. I believe this was the last to come out before D&D 5th edition was officially released. And this is also part of the, you know, the Forgotten Realms Sundering as well. Same thing with Icewind Dale. This has 2 books and a 4-panel screen. Really, really nice quality, because when I bought this, I actually bought this off eBay also. And when I bought this, the game store that I bought it from actually had an open one as well. So they gave me the open one also, and it's all in, you know, nice color, and there's some promotion cards, and that's the 32-page book. This is the adventure. Here's the Baldur's Gate campaigns guide. It has everything about Baldur's Gate, beautiful art, etc. And then here's the 4-panel DM screen. It's really nice. It's got lots of information. It's got the maps and everything on it. So yeah, this is actually all part of the pack. And I think I paid I think it was like $12 with free shipping for those packs is what I paid for them. So yeah, I mean, good deals. $35 is what I paid for Ghost of Dragon Spear Castle, and I know they're pretty rare. I think I've seen a couple for a couple $100 a book. So they are pretty rare. So now we're going to get into the core material, you guys. I'm just not going to go through every book because you guys probably have these yourselves. But the Player's Handbook, I finally got a first printing. I've gone through. This is my 7th Player's Handbook, and I actually bought this here in El Paso from a game store, because the other 6 copies of the Player's Handbook that I had all fell apart on me, and they were bad. I mean, I have 3 of these that are still all in chunks, because the pages literally fell out in, you know, big chunks of pages. And this one actually hasn't fallen apart yet, which this is a, you know, I think this is either a 2nd or a 3rd printing book. So it hasn't fallen apart yet, but I haven't used it that much. But I've taken all the other ones, and I still have 3 that I need to spiral ring, and I'm going to give away in the future. But yeah, I would spiral ring these at my local, you know, store that has stationery and stuff. I think it was I can't remember what store it was, but they would spiral ring it for me, and then I'd give them away. So Player's Handbook, it has, you know, all of the 12 core classes, all of your races, core races, you know, all of the feats, etc. your Dungeon Master's Guide. I actually really like this Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition. Even though there's over 100 pages of magic items, the portion of the DMG that I really like is in the toolbox that they have towards the back, where you can pretty much build a random dungeon. Here it is. You guys probably can't see the pages too well, but this has just chart after chart after chart of creating dungeons, and I think it does a pretty decent job of helping DMs. But if you want a good book that really explains a lot of different players and how to handle the players and create adventures, and this does it. But I think the Dragon Age RPG, the core book, I think that does a much better job of explaining how to run games and, play D&D from the Dungeon Master's point of view. So here we go. This is the Monster Manual. I love the legendary creatures in here. The art's beautiful, but I just feel that the monsters are really too weak, and I don't like challenge ratings, as you guys know. I like to have level-based creatures, or I like to have creatures that don't have any level base or CR at all, like a lot of other games out there that I play, like Dragon Age, Fantasy Age. No level requirements or anything. Level tags, I guess you could call them. But the Monster Manual it's a good book. Don't get me wrong, but the Kobold Press Tome of Beast is a far superior product. But the Monster Manual, like I said, the legendary creatures in here are amazing. I love the legendary creatures and how the new mechanics work with their legendary actions and stuff. But I feel a lot of the monsters in here are just too weak, and you shouldn't have to adjust them, because I hear that all the time. Well, you can just adjust your monsters. No, I shouldn't have to. This should have been tested enough to where I don't need to do that. So, Monster Manual, like I said, everybody, beautiful book. It's just weak in comparison to other books that are available out there. And actually, subsequent releases after the Monster Manual. So next, I'm going to stay with the core books. Here's the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. If you guys don't have this, this is everything that has to do with the Sword Coast. There's some new racial options in here. Complete Gazetteer with the Sword Coast. Unfortunately, no map. I mean, this is the book that you'd want to have a map with. Why is there no map with this? Just my 2 cents. But yeah, you can still... I mean, it's by Green Row 9. They're the ones that actually contracted to do this. You could play the awesome Purple Dragon Knight. I'm just kidding on that. So anyway, there's the Gazetteer for the Sword Coast. So you can get the Adventurer's Guide if you're going to stay within the Sword Coast, like 5th edition. So here's Volo's Guide to Monsters. This is a much, 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 much better book, monster-wise, feature-wise, than the Monster Manual. And this has tons and tons of new monsters. That's what the book is called, Volo's Guide to Monsters. So I like this. It's not only just stat blocks for monsters, but it has a lot of lore on the creatures and stuff like that. And I like that it has some maps, it has some adventures for the different types of creatures that you're doing, and then it has a lot of tables and charts on, say, the beholders by chance. What kind of minions the beholders are going to have, how many, etc. So Volo's Guide to Monsters was a huge improvement off of the Monster Manual, and I think it's a really good book, and I use the monsters out of these preferably over the excluding the legendary monsters out of the Monster Manual. So the next resource book we have is Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Ooh. This is another great book. This has all kinds of new monsters. This has all kinds of player options, etc. So if you want another good book that expands off of the Player's Handbook, I would definitely check out Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. So another great supplement with monsters. Basically, this is like Monster Manual 3. It's just that, as Mike Merle said previously, they're not calling each book Monster Manual 2, Monster Manual 3, but they're just giving them names. So this is basically your third book of monsters. Then there's Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which is probably one of my favorite supplement books for D&D 5th edition. I absolutely love this book. And it has a lot of players' options, and it has new spells. It actually has all of the different monsters on rollable tables for the different environments. So here's a bunch of new spells. There's new how to reward items, how to create them. This is actually a really nice book. So here's a bunch of other random encounters that you can generate. Yeah, good stuff. Xanathar's is really nice. Nice GM tools. All kinds of new archetypes for the classes, etc. Good stuff. Tons of character options as well. So Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's a great book. I really recommend having that for your players. Or if you're a player, I recommend you having that to use. Next is a Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. I think this was a ploy to try to entice all of the Magic the Gathering players to D&D. I'm not sure how successful it was. But when they announced this, they were hyping it up and announcing a new product. And I was hoping that it was going to be something like a Dragonlance, maybe something like a Nentir Vale setting, or maybe even Spelljammer. But I was actually disappointed when they announced a Magic the Gathering setting. I mean, it's actually beautiful. The miniature line from WizKids is actually beautiful as well. I picked up a case of those. They're really nice. But this has all of the information that you need to play a D&D game in the world of Magic the Gathering. So it has beautiful art, beautiful cartography. It has a whole slew of new optional races, which I actually really like. And there's an elephant humanoid guy in here that I actually would, right here. I would actually allow my players to play that humanoid. And then there's the goblin, there's a centaur, there's new elves and stuff. So everything Magic the Gathering right here. Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, not my favorite, but I was hoping for a different setting. But yeah, I think that was the major consensus of most of the grognards like myself. So anyway, Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Acquisitions Incorporated. Good stuff. Acquisitions Incorporated, if you guys haven't ever seen the streams from PAX and stuff, all those guys get together and play a live D&D game and have fun with it. So if you want to incorporate a business perspective into your D&D group, Acquisitions Incorporated is for you. Turning your group into a corporation, basically. And this has all of the rules and stuff to do so. Awesome stuff. Check out Acquisitions Incorporated. So here's one of the later releases. I'm glad that Everon has a hardback out now. Totally happy about that. Everon came out, years ago. Keith Baker won a contest for, creating a setting. And when I was younger, I was more of a traditionalist, where I liked just pure fantasy. But this has technology, and I thought that there was too much steampunk in it for me. But this is a massive book. I mean, this is 320 pages. They actually put a fold-out map. Look at that. Wow, the holy grail of D&D 5th edition. Buy these up as hotcakes because, maps are rare in D&D 5e. But this is everything for Everon, the world of Everon. All kinds of new creatures, all kinds of new races. There's archetypes. There's adventures in here. There's a massive section on dragon marks and all that other stuff. So Everon, Rising from the Last War. I'm glad to see that it actually got a hardback. I would have actually liked to seen this come out before Ravnica, but that's just my opinion. And then here's the collector's edition cover as well, which I just started recently getting the collector's editions, which I actually really regret not doing, because the early books, the early collector's editions, like Volos and stuff, those things are like $500 for a collector's edition book. So, no, crazy. So now let's get into the adventures. This was the first release, the Hoard of the Dragon Queen. This was by Kobold Press, Wolfgang Bauer and stuff, and I actually ran this for Wolfgang and some other people, Chris Pramus. We had a great time, but everybody's schedules just did not work out, so we had to cancel. But it's a 2-part adventure. I believe this goes up to about level 8 or so. Then part 2 is the Rise of Tiamat, which is where you fight Tiamat at the well at the end. So this is part 2. It goes up to level 15. This has all about the red wizards and whatnot. And I was hoping to actually see this being expanded into the lands of Thay with Zastam and stuff. But the adventure is pretty good, and there's a lot of sandbox elements to. It's called the Hoard. It's called it's Hoard of the Dragon Queen, and for part 1, and then there's the Rise of Tiamat. So it's called the Tyranny of Dragons, which brings us to the remake of the book. So what they did was they created this Tyranny of Dragons book. This has the Hoard of the Dragon Queen and the Rise of Tiamat. They corrected a lot of the errors. They changed a lot of the adventure because there was a lot of errors in this first adventure series. So they basically took everything, added a bunch of new art into it and stuff. But it has all of the creatures, and it has both books, all of the adventures and stuff. So this is actually a really nice remake of the Tyranny of Dragons book, and this is the only cover that you can get for it, I think. So then there's the next was Princes of Apocalypse. If you like a massive dungeon grinding adventure, then Princes of the Apocalypse is for you. There's like 16 massive dungeons in here. I'll find one of the maps for you. But yeah, it's just crazy. All you're doing is going around killing kobolds, and you're pretty much killing kobolds and cultists in just about every one of these dungeons. I don't think there may not be 16, but there's a bunch. But all of the dungeons are like this size, and you fight the cultists from the different elemental type of cultist groups. Really cool. So if you're old school, you like dungeons, this is for you. I mean, as you can see, there's just map after map after map of big dungeons. Now, I will say this, however, you will fight Odermach at the end, which is a really nice fight, and there is going to be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't, this has already been out for 5 years now. If you haven't read it by now, then too bad. I mean, I'm just kind of talking. And if there's spoilers, there's going to be spoilers. So don't leave any hate mail down in the hate comments. I can't believe you're spoiling this. Well, if you haven't read it in 5 years, then it's your fault. So, so the one thing that I will say about Princes of the Apocalypse, there is a great introductory adventure for character levels 1 to 5, and you can play. I really recommend this. That's another great adventure. It has a lot of sandbox to it and stuff. So there's a great 1 to 5 adventure. So Princes of the Apocalypse, check it out. So next we've got Out of the Abyss. This is probably the worst module that I've seen for D&D 5th edition, and I'm sorry to say it and be that brutally honest with you, but I am just not a fan of Out of the Abyss. I love the Underdark, I love the Drow, I love all of the denizens of the Underdark, but this is just done horribly. I'll rephrase that. Overall, I don't like it, but there are several chapters in here that I absolutely like. I do like about this. I love Velkenvelv, Chapter 1. That's where you, as your party, you start as prisoners in a Drow prison camp called Velkenvelv. That's a great adventure, and you can plug and play that. I would plug and play that chapter into a game because it's that good. And then secondly, I do like the chapter on Slubladop, where where you have the Demogorgon crashes out of the Dark Lake and destroys the town of Slubladop as you're doing some type of like ritualistic ceremony. It's really good. So I do like 2 chapters, but I don't like I don't like the daily roles that they want for you to do for insanity and all that other stuff. I think that that could have been incorporated in a better way. But Chapter 1, Velkenvelve, and I think it's Chapter 2 or Chapter 3, Slubladop, is awesome. So then there's a couple of other little small dungeons and stuff with slimes that were really good and powerful. So there's some good elements out of the Abyss, but I will never run this again. Sorry. Next, we've got Curse of Strahd. This module I have not ran. We did play Ravenloft when I was a kid, so Count Strahd von Zedovich. I'm not a big fan of Ravenloft, so it's good. I mean, it's actually a great setting, and I love the old Ravenloft box sets and stuff, but we played it so much as a kid, it's just kind of carried over into my adult life, and I really didn't want anything to do with Curse of Strahd. So this is look at that. Open it up, and the pages just blow right out. This is another one that has a fold-out map, so that's nice. But there's all kinds of undead. There's, you got the Terra deck here. You can also buy the Terra deck as an optional purchase as well, and you can use that Terra deck in your games. I mean, but it has everything you need. There's a great level 1 to 5 adventure. Now, if I was going to run anything, I would probably run the level 1 to 5 adventure at the beginning of the book. So, yeah, I would do that. But other than that, I don't think I'll run Curse of Strahd. But there's a bunch of other stuff, monsters, and there's a couple of other optional backgrounds and stuff like you could choose. So, next we've got Storm King's Thunder. This is probably one of my favorite D&D 5th edition modules of the hardbacks, along with Ghost of Dragonspear Castle from the playtest, Vault of the Dracolich is good, and then also in the starter box set you had Lost Mine of Phandelver. I actually like Storm King's Thunder. There's the 1 to 5 adventure in here is awesome as well, which I really recommend running your players through. It's really good. And this is a massive sandbox campaign, excuse me, as I burp all over you. There's tons of new creatures, and then there's 3 parts of the adventure that you need to make mandatory to make the adventure work. So this is actually a really good book, Storm King's Thunder. I love it. I would actually like to run this again, and in fact, I would like to convert this to maybe a 3D6, like Dragon Age rules or Fantasy Age or something like that. I mean, you could just do that on the fly because that is that easy to adapt games to. So yes, check out Storm King's Thunder. It's actually really good. I really do. It takes you up to the 10 towns to the north and all that good stuff. So yeah, check that out. Here's a book of regurgitation called The Tales from the Yawning Portal. I like the Tales from the Yawning Portal, although I do think that they made most of the adventures way too easy, especially at the end, the level 15 plus adventure, the Tomb of Horrors, which is supposed to be one of the most deadliest dungeons of all time. I have lost 50 characters in the Tomb of Horrors, but in D&D 5th edition, it has just, I don't know. I like the premise of this. I do like all of the adventures. There's 7 adventures in here from, you've got Dead and Thay from the D&D playtest. I don't know how that made it into this, to be honest, but it had been converted from a multi-group dungeon to a single-group dungeon. You got Sunless Citadel and Forge of Fury. That's a great combo adventure from, the 3 and 3.5 era. You've got the Hidden Shrine of Tamoachen, which is a classic AD&D module. You got White Plume Mountain, another classic. You've got Against the Giants, which is G1, 2, and 3, another great edition of this. But they rehash a lot of these modules in every single edition. I wish that there would be new adventures coming out instead of redoing everything from the past, every single edition. And then finally, the Tomb of Horrors, which is a good book. I mean, honestly, but in my opinion, it's just a little bit too easy. I had a group of 5th level characters go into the Tomb of Horrors and just annihilate it. They had no problems whatsoever, except for when the Indiana Jones type of ball rolled over one of them and killed him, or 2 of them. So, but yeah, you can run these. These are all plug and play. There's a lot of information about from the Yawning Portal, which is in Waterdeep, and that's sort of like a main hub to where you can, start all of your adventures. So, but hey, it's a good book. 7 great plug and play adventures, but you may need to adjust them a little bit because they're all different level ranges. Here's the Tomb of Annihilation. This is another adventure I think this was the first adventure that wasn't in the Sword Coast, which was nice to see. This is the Island of Chult. This is really nice. There's a lot of new handouts, a lot of art. And what I really liked about running this was I loved the old school feel that it had for a hex crawl. As you can see, this is a hex map. And, basically it gave you like a blank canvas as a map, as you can see. And as your players take a day or 2 days and uncover each one of these hexes, you uncover more of the map. And there were lots of deadly undead encounters that were daily random encounters, and I like that. And then it went into, with hunger and thirst and foraging. So, and it was a great sandbox adventure with a really good story with the curse. So, Tomb of Annihilation, another great adventure. This is one that I ran, and I recommend getting Tomb of Annihilation. Really nice book. Next, we have Waterdeep Dragon Heist. This is an adventure for character levels 1 to 5. It's based in Waterdeep, and it is the precursor for Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And here's another map, so they're starting to put maps in all of them. But with this, what I was really disappointed in seeing was, all of these black and white maps. What happened to the color cartography that you were putting into the books? No more map packs available for these. It was kind of disappointing. The adventure was pretty good. I did like parts of it, but there were parts that I didn't like that I thought were a little bit drawn out. But it's a decent adventure for character levels 1 to 5. Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This is a massive 23 dungeon map. If you guys aren't familiar with Undermountain, do a Google search and read about Undermountain. But it's 23 levels. I believe Skullport's in here. I ran the first level, and it was nothing but kicking in the door and fighting. And as you can see, more black and white cartography. Really disappointing there. But what I think they did was I think they took the first floor of the classic Undermountain box set, and I think they broke it up into 24 separate maps. I can't confirm it 100%, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of content in here. I believe it goes up to level 20. But when I ran it, I noticed that it was nothing but a murder hobo fest with kicking indoors, not a lot of role play, even though there was some role play in there that it talks about. But I actually incorporated, I think my party had 2 or 3 encounters, tactical combat encounters, from the first level of Mad Mage. So I put like Lady Gaga in there and stuff, and just stupid stuff, and my players loved it. And yeah, it was crazy. Lady Gaga had this meat golem, and that's why I did it, because she had that meat dress at the Oscars or whatever she got. I don't know what that. I don't watch that garbage, but I remember she was in a meat dress. So there was a meat golem encounter, and I'm like, cool, I'm putting Lady Gaga here because of the meat golem. So yeah, this is the greatest dungeon of all, pre D&D 5th edition. So, but yeah, it's a deadly dungeon. I spent as a kid, we spent probably a year and a half in Undermountain. I mean, it was crazy. We had rooms and rooms full of treasure that we couldn't get out of there. And if there was something that we were having problems with, maybe Githyanki or something like that, we'd just open up another room, we'd do some role playing and say, hey, we'll give you this whole treasure, this whole room of treasure, if you help us kill these Githyanki, or if you help us kill the Beholder, or something like that. So yeah, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, massive dungeon grinder, add a bunch of role play. There is some in there, but I would recommend adding a bunch in there for your players also. Next, we've got the Ghost of Saltmarsh. These are more rehashes from older days. And there's, I believe there's what? All black and white maps again. Top quality on that. And there's, let's see, The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. These are all like AD&D First Edition adventures. So if you want some plug-and-play pirate adventures, there you go. It also has a fully detailed map of Saltmarsh and all of the surrounding environment and stuff like that. So I haven't played it yet. I haven't even really read it yet, because if it's anything like the old books, then I've kind of have a premise on what they're all about. And then here's the collector's version as well. I like that. I like that cover. So really nice. Merman or Murloc or whatever. Murloc. That's definitely not a Murloc. So next is Baldur's Gate Descent to Avernus. This has another map. Lots of great art. Lots of great black and white maps. There's a little bit of cartography, but it has everything. I haven't really read it. I'll be honest with you, I haven't really read it. But you can check out Descent into Avernus, and then here's the collector's edition for Descent into Avernus as well. And then last but not least, the book that just released yesterday, Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. I guess this is Geek and Sundries or Critical Role's campaign setting. There's a map here. I haven't even looked at it yet, and I probably won't for some time. But hey, this looks good. I really haven't watched. They've gone back to like color maps and stuff, which is really nice. So, but I think it has all the races, everything to play in the world of Wildmount. So, yeah, I'm not I haven't watched Critical Role. I haven't watched Geek and Sundry. So, I've got too much in life going on to where, yeah, I just haven't had a chance. So, but there you go, everybody. There's the D&D 5th edition books that I have. These are the hardbacks, and I'm going to make another video on all of the other supplements and stuff like that. I'll tell you what I do miss, though. I miss the paperback 32-page adventures. Sort of like this. You know, here's a D&D 5th edition adventure called Curse of the Full Moon. This is for 4 to 6 PCs, characters level 4 to 5, and this is by Jonathan Nelson over there at AAW.com or AdventureAweek.com. Actually, AAW puts out a lot of beautiful stuff. I mean, look at this. This is actually beautiful. Everything is so well organized. The stat blocks are readable. All kinds of great cartography. Jonathan does a great job. I mean, look at this. Even gives you the maps and stuff. Beautiful, isn't it? And then you can get digital copies as well with full-size maps. And I think on checkout, I believe they give you an optional PDF for like a couple bucks. So, yeah. So there you go, everybody. There's the core books, all of the hardback books for D&D 5th edition. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section about D&D 5th edition. I love D&D 5th edition. I've been playing it hardcore since 2014. In fact, since about 2012 when the playtest was out for a couple of years. Yeah, it's very rule light. It's made D&D more popular than ever before. And if you are on the fence about checking it out, pick up the Player's Handbook. You know, get you an adventure, get you something like Storm King's Thunder, or get you the starter box set with the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and have fun and learn how to play D&D with your friends. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Thumbs up the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Until next time, happy gaming and stay safe. Bye, everybody.